Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta.
And now chapter 29, Pure Love for Krishna.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta.
Encouraged by Lord Chaitanya to proceed further, Ramananda Rai said that the fraternal relationship with Lord Krishna is on an even higher transcendental plane. In this way, Ramananda Rai points out that when the relationship with Krishna increases in affection, the mood of fear and the consciousness of the superiority of the Supreme Lord diminish. At this point, the mood of faith increases, and this faith is called friendship. In the fraternal relationship, there is a sense of equality between Krishna and his friends. In this regard, Ramananda Rai quoted a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 12, Verse 11, in which Shukdeva Goswami describes Lord Krishna's lunch with his friends in the forest. Lord Krishna and his friends went to the forest to play with the cows, and it is said that the boys who accompanied Krishna enjoyed transcendental friendship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord is considered to be the impersonal Brahman by great sages, the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the devotees, and an ordinary human being by common men. Lord Chaitanya appreciated this statement very much, yet he said, "You can go even further." Being so requested, Ramananda Rai then stated that the fraternal relationship with Krishna is a still higher transcendental position. When the affection of the fraternal relationship increases, it develops into the paternal relationship that is found between father and son. Regarding this, Ramananda Rai quoted a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 8, Verse 46, wherein Maharaj Pariksit inquired from Shukdeva Goswami about the magnitude of righteous activity performed by Yashoda, the mother of Krishna, enabling her to be called mother and her breasts be sucked by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He also quoted another verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 9, Verse 20, in which it is stated that Yashoda received such incomparable mercy from the Supreme Personality of Godhead that it cannot even be compared to the mercy received by Brahma, the first created living being, or by Lord Shiva, or even by the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, who is always situated on the chest of Lord Vishnu. Lord Chaitanya then asked Ramananda Rai to proceed further in order to come to the point of conjugal love. Understanding the mind of Lord Chaitanya, Ramananda Rai immediately answered that it was indeed conjugal love with Krishna that constituted the highest relationship. In other words, intimate relationships with Krishna develop from an ordinary conception of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to the conception of master and servant, and when this becomes confidential, it develops into a friendly relationship, and when this relationship further develops, it becomes paternal, and when this develops to the highest point of love and affection, it is known as conjugal love with the Supreme Lord. Ramananda Rai quoted another verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 47, Verse 60, stating that the transcendental mode of ecstasy exhibited during the Ras dance between the gopis and Krishna was never relished even by the goddess of fortune, who is always situated on the chest of the Lord in the spiritual kingdom. and what to speak of the experience of ordinary women? Ramananda Roy then explained the gradual process by which pure love for Krishna is developed. He pointed out that the living entity is related to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in one of the relationships just suitable for him. Actually, relationships with the Supreme Lord begin with the master and servant relationship and further develop into friendship, paternal love, and conjugal love. One who attains his particular relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead should be known to be in the best relationship for him. But when these transcendental relationships are studied, it can be seen that the neutral stage of realization, Brahmabhuta, is the first. When one accepts the Lord as master and himself as servant, the relationship develops, and it develops further when one becomes a friend of the Supreme Lord, and yet still further when one becomes a father. Thus the relationship advances from friendship to paternal love and finally to conjugal love, which is the supreme relationship with the Lord. Self-realization in the relation as servitor is certainly transcendental, and when a sense of fraternity is added, the relationship develops. As affection increases, this relationship develops into paternity and conjugal love. Ramananda Roy quoted a verse from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2:5-38, stating that spiritual affection for the Supreme Lord is transcendental in all cases, but the individual devotee has a specific aptitude for a particular relationship, and that relationship is more relishable for him than the others. Such transcendental relationships with the Supreme Lord cannot be manufactured by the mental concoctions of pseudo-devotees. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.101, Rupa Goswami has stated that devotional service that makes no reference to Vedic scriptures or Vedic literatures, and that does not follow the principles set forth therein, can never be approved. Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj has also remarked that professional spiritual masters, professional Bhagavatam reciters, professional kirtan performers, and those engaged in self-concocted devotional service cannot be accepted. In India, there are various professional communities known as Aola, Baula, Kartabaja, Neda, Daravesha, Snai, Atibadi, Chudadari, and Gauranga Nagari. A member of the Ventur Goswami Society, or the caste called Goswami, cannot be accepted as a descendant of the 6 original Goswamis. Nor can so-called devotees who manufacture songs about Lord Chaitanya, nor those who are professional priests or paid reciters be accepted. One who does not follow the principles of Pancharatra, or one who is an impersonalist or addicted to sex life, cannot be compared with those who have dedicated their lives to the service of Krishna. A pure devotee who is always engaged in Krishna consciousness can sacrifice everything for the service of the Lord. One who has dedicated his life to the service of Lord Chaitanya, Krishna, and the spiritual master, or a person who is following the principles of householder life, as well as one following the principles of the renounced life in the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is a devotee and cannot be compared to professional men. When one is freed from all material contaminations, any one of the relationships with Krishna is transcendently relishable. Unfortunately, those who are inexperienced in the transcendental science cannot appreciate the different relationships with the Supreme Lord. They think that all such relationships arise from Maya. Caitanya Caritamrta states that earth, water, fire, air, and ether, the 5 gross elements, are developed from subtle forms to grosser forms. For example, sound is found in ether, but in air there is sound and touch. When fire is added, there is sound, touch, and form as well. When water is added, there is sound, touch, form, and taste. And when earth is added, there is sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. Just as various characteristics develop in the progression from ether down to earth, so the 5 characteristics of devotion develop and are all found in the relationship of conjugal love. Thus, the relationship with Krishna in conjugal love is accepted as the highest perfectional stage of love of God. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 82, Verse 44, quote, "Devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the life of every living entity," unquote. Indeed, the Lord informed the damsels of Braja that their love for Him was the only cause of their achieving His association. It is said that Lord Krishna, in relation with His devotees, accepts all kinds of devotional service according to the aptitude of the devotee. In this way, Krishna reciprocates to a devotee's needs. If one wants a relationship with Krishna as master and servant, Krishna plays the part of the perfect master. For one who wants Krishna as a son in the parental relationship, Krishna plays the part of a perfect son. Similarly, if a devotee wants to worship Krishna in conjugal love, Krishna plays the part of a husband or paramour perfectly. However, Krishna himself has admitted that his loving relationship with the damsels of Braja in conjugal love is the highest perfectional stage. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 32, Verse 22, Krishna told the gopis, "Na paraye ham niravadya samyujam svasadu krityam dibuda yushapi va ya ma bhajan durjaya geha srinkala samrishya tadva pratiyatu sadhuna," which means, quote, "Your relationship with me is completely transcendental, and it is not possible for me to offer anything in exchange for your love, even after many births. You have been able to give up all attachment for material enjoyment, and you have searched after me. Since I am unable to repay your love, you have to be pleased with your own activities," unquote. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj has remarked that there is a class of common men who claim that anyone and everyone can worship the Supreme Lord according to his own invented mode of worship and still attain the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They claim that one can approach the Supreme Lord either through fruitive activities, speculative knowledge, meditation, or austerity, and that any one of the methods will succeed. They claim that one can accept many different paths and still reach the same place, and they maintain that the Supreme Absolute Truth may be worshipped either as the goddess Kali, or goddess Durga, or Lord Shiva, Ganesha, Rama, Hari, or Brahma. In short, they maintain that it does not matter how the Absolute Truth is addressed, for all names are one and the same. They give the example of a man with many names. If he is called by any of those names, he will answer. Such views may be very pleasing to an ordinary person, but they are full of misconceptions. One who worships the demigods, motivated by material lust, cannot attain the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one worships the demigods, the external energy of the Lord can award some results, but this is not to say that one can attain the Supreme Lord by such worship. Indeed, their worship is discouraged in Bhagavad-gita. Antavatu palam tesham, tad bhavatyalpa medasam, devan deva yajo yanti, madbhakta yanti mam api, which means, quote, men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. Unquote. From the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 23. Thus the Supreme Lord awards the benediction of His association only to those who worship Him, and not to those who worship the demigods. It is not a fact that everyone and anyone can reach the Supreme Personality of Godhead by worshipping material demigods. It is therefore surprising that a man can imagine that he will become perfect by worshipping the demigods. The results of devotional service rendered in full Krishna consciousness cannot be compared to the results of demigod worship, fruitive activity, or mental speculation. By the results of fruitive activities, one can either go to the heavenly planets or the hellish ones.